My favorite memories growing up are always around food. I have this vivid image of me and my grandmother making pasta when I was like 4 years old, or cooking brownies for my friends and eating them on the kitchen floor while they were still hot. My mom was my first and the best head chef I ever had. Not only because she was very kind and patient, but also because she taught me almost everything I know about food and how to work a kitchen. Food is a big part of my childhood. It's so important that it's one of my passions. And when I turned 21, I decided to drop out of uni from what I expected to be a very promising career in marine engineering to become a chef. But 2 weeks before starting culinary arts, I decided to go vegan. And I know what you might be thinking. I was mad. And you're absolutely right. Because 10 years ago, in Argentina, turning vegan, the land of the asado, which, by the way, is a massive meat barbecue we cook over several hours, was definitely a turning point in my life. But I was convinced, not only because I'm very stubborn, but also because the environment is my other passion. And for a while, I find it very hard to reconcile both of my passions. You see, in the old dated traditional system we live in, being a foodie is far from ecological, let alone sustainable. I had the opportunity to travel around the world and work in many big cities like Buenos Aires and Paris, Barcelona, London, and in different types of restaurants, big, small, big chains, independent. And there was this one thing that was consistent through them all. Something so big that was actually part of the budget. Something so big that was part of every process and area in the restaurant. This, my friends, was food waste. I'm talking about everything that you can imagine. Leftovers, recipes that go bad, like food that is actually good but has a best before label, water, packaging, tea, coffee, milk, beer, wine, anything you can imagine. And seeing this with my own eyes, broke my heart. It made me very sad. So I decided to take actions in my hands and actually try to learn more about food, where it comes from, how it's produced, where it goes, what is waste, how it's wasted, and where it goes. And in this journey, I learned something very important. I learned that in nature, there's no such thing as waste. Because nature is a circular system, and everything has a purpose, and everything is reused. And right there, I understood what Chef McMaster said: waste is a failure of our imagination. Mike Berners-Lee, a researcher and professor of sustainability from Lancaster University, wrote a fantastic book called There Is No Planet B, where he shows that 1.3 billion tons of food is wasted every year. Let me put this into perspective. This is actually 1/3 of the global food produced every single year. This is $940 billion every single year, burned into the trash. Our food system relies on nature. However, it is responsible for 60% of biodiversity loss and 1/3 of the global greenhouse gas emissions. Agriculture alone is responsible for 25% of those greenhouse gases, being the biggest cause of soil degradation, water pollution, air pollution, and deforestation for livestock, grazing, feed crops, and monocrops. The UN and the World Health Organization reported that we produce 2.5 times as much calories the average human needs to eat to be healthy. Yet, 795 million people go hungry every single day. And 1 in 3 people globally suffers from malnutrition. Now, I tried to put these numbers together in my head, and it doesn't make any sense. And I question every day, what is going on in the world? How is this even possible? Well, we've seen over the past few months farmers blowing over courgettes, tomatoes, onions, dairy farmers dumping millions of gallons of milk down the drain that would normally go to different commercial operations like restaurants, schools, coffee shops that had to close because of COVID-19. Yet we've seen the effects right here in London. Supermarkets running out of stock. This pandemic has exposed the weaknesses and the inequalities of our global food system. We have a storage and distribution problem alongside a systemic and growing consumerism. And this is the result of capitalism taking over our primary industries and affecting the way we view and consume food. What's next? What do we do now? Well, let me try something here. How many of you have explored in the past few months something new in the kitchen? Maybe try new recipes, try new food, maybe even binge on a cooking show. Wow. Well, I knew I was not alone because the hashtag sourdough has taken over my social media, but it's very clear that it's happening everywhere because of the hands I can see here. And this is fantastic because this shows that in such a short period of time, we actually had the opportunity to change our relationship towards food. And this is fantastic because it's the first step towards reducing our footprint and bringing value back to food. Now, the most important question is, what is the next step? Well, my friends, the first and most important thing we need to take in consideration is that we have to reduce our meat and dairy intake. I'm sure you heard this one before, and there's a reason for it. Animal-based products have a considerably higher impact on our footprint than plant-based foods. Our worldindata.org led a very extensive research that shows that producing 1 kilogram of meat generates 60 times more greenhouse gases than producing 1 kilogram of peas. Let me say this one more time for the seats in the back. Producing 1 kilogram of meat generates 60 times more greenhouse gases than producing 1 kilogram of peas. This is because most water pollution and greenhouse gas emissions result from land use and processes at the farm stages, such as the use of pesticides, fertilizers, fossil fuel power machines, deforestation, and enteric fermentation. So actually, reducing our meat and dairy intake will have a much larger impact on our footprint than eating locally, for example. Because as important as it is to eat locally, transportation contributes to 6% of the global footprint, whilst meat and dairy industry contributes to 80%. This is because most of the ways of transportation for food have a relatively low impact on the environment, except for the ones traveling by air. And those represent only 0.20%. So we've seen before on the graphics that actually every area in the supply chain have an impact on the environment. We have land use, we have processes, we have farming, we have retail, packaging, and transportation. So to reduce our footprint, we need to take action. And the actions that we need to take to do it is first, to reduce our meat and dairy intake. By meat, I mean red meat, poultry, and fish. I would let you do some research on fish, because it's a wide, extensive topic. The next thing is to buy organic when possible. Now, from an environmental perspective, buying organic is very important because organic practices build a healthy and nutrient-rich soil. Now, soil is the foundation of agriculture. Without soil, there is no food. The next thing is to buy in season, to avoid indoor intensive farming. Now, there's a lot of controversy here. Some things are okay, some things are not. We just need to be careful that not all intensive farming is being fueled by renewable energy, and that has a great impact. The next thing is to read the labels. Labels carry crucial information, not only the list of ingredients, but where things come from, how ethically and fairly workers are being treated, and how environmentally friendly and sustainable the practices are. So if any of these things are not being disclaimed, it says a lot about the food and the brand. The next thing we need to take in consideration is to reduce the single use of plastic. Now, we are in 2020. What the heck are we doing? The next thing is to buy in bulk and locally when possible. Now, by local, I don't just mean the supermarket down the road. I mean the farmers from your local community, your town, your city, your country. And last but not least, reduce our food waste. Now, the ways I think that we can actually accomplish all of these or most of these things at the same time is to cook. Cooking is very easy. We've seen Master Chef Junior. Actually, if they can do it that well, I'm sure we can at least try. Cooking is very fun and it's empowering. If everybody in the world knew how to prepare food, the world would be a very different place. My advice, start small. One recipe, something that you like, with ingredients you know, ingredients you like. Ideally, from a chef. This way, it will also help you to be efficient around the kitchen. And of course, invest in good salt, because salt is the soul of the kitchen. The next thing you need to have in consideration is to be curious. Get to know the products you like. Try to understand where they come from, how they're made. If you cannot talk to the farmer's market, then at least research the brands you like. And the last advice is to trust your instincts. Best before labels are a guideline, not a rule. We need to touch the food. We need to smell it. We need to see it and taste it. You will know when it's time to make a crumble with the fruits at the back of your fridge. Now, food goes through many stages before getting to our plates. It costs money, it costs labor, natural resources, and biological time to grow, to distribute, and to prepare. Reducing our footprint can be as simple as changing our relationship with food. We live in an era where our food system and our eating habits not only affect our health, but the environment, our society, and the economy. These are things that are so interlinked and issues that touches every single person and ecosystem on this planet. This is the time, this is the opportunity to reconnect and redefine the value of food in our lives by rethinking the way we produce, we distribute, and we consume food in order to build a healthier and more sustainable world. We, as the consumers, have the power to make a change on this planet. Thank you.